Welcome to the TIP Network.
What we have here is a reaction with the roommates interviewed
Dr.
Jordan Peterson.
Are you a rabid prawngraphy user? Because maybe that's undermining your motivation to seek out a woman and grow yourself up. It's a big problem. It's a real curse, that prawngraphy, in my opinion, because it's an easy out. And so we don't know what the consequences of that are.
I'll just cover it slightly.
What do you think of the prawnography?
I think that the prawn content is so different when I was coming up how I consumed prawn. Right. Mm-hmm. So the way I consumed it was I had to go get a videotape or borrow videotape, and it was like an event. And so I couldn't have it as much as I wanted it. And so quite honestly, there was a deprivation of instant access. Of
at
access.
Your fingertips on your phone.
And but now it's instant access. So I do think that if you're having a problem with connecting with folks and you find yourself, you just got to look deep down in yourself, like he says, at a high resolution and say, well, man, I really wish I had. Well, do you have if you're watching for 4 hours a day, you probably don't even have time to go meet women. If you're watching prawn for 4 hours a day, you probably don't have time to meet.
What are you doing? You're just stroking it for like 4 hours?
I don't know.
Don't you get raw into like?
I don't. I'm not going to talk about this with you.
But this doesn't make any sense.
No, but I'm just saying it. But if you're maybe you're just looking for different content.
I'm trying to get in now, man. More than 10 minutes is like.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So the only thing I'm saying is that like the way it's consumed. So I can understand why somebody would say, man, this is really bad because it's instant gratification. And so it's triggering the dopamine in your brain for instant gratification.
Wiring your brain and stuff,
and it's wiring you a certain way that you have this on a certain time. Then it's making you maybe only want a certain kind of lady that you just will never have access to.
Mm-hmm. But then again, with prawn, you not really getting the character of a girl. You're getting more of the physical acts, which hopefully you guys know by now. The women don't normally do those certain acts in real life.
It's because of years of watching the men's sexual attraction becomes warped.
And if you were trying to perform those acts in real life, you give you a dirty look. And we're not talking about the dirty where it turns you on type of dirty look. More like, what the hell are you doing?
Woman trying to kill you. Okay.
If you were better, you'd be more successful with women.
Well, yeah.
So you have to have that in your mind, and they're not. You cannot be angry at women. It's stupid. Women, it's like women being angry at men. It's a sign of psychological trouble.
And so this is where the whole I feel very strongly about this. If all you're complaining about is women, I mean, unless you're a content creator, because that's part of your business, right? That's how you get your views. Yeah. But for the average guy, focus on your self-development. Focus on your personal development. And there's a distinction too. Self-development is your character, is how you move through the world with your discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics. Dime, Kevin Samuels.
In order to maintain your high value status, you must have discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics.
Throw that in there, right? And then your personal development is developing your skills, developing your passions, and then pursuing your purpose. That's why everyone in the content creator sphere is always talking about pursuing your purpose, because that helps you become better, and that helps you to attract the person that you want.
And let me talk about some practicalities here. And like this, if you're spending all of your time on video games all day, and
which I used to love video games,
you're spending all your time playing video games, okay? And so and you have a cash flow issue, or you don't have a cash flow issue, but you have a body issue, meaning that you're
a fat body,
or you're just not as in shape as you can. Cut half of the time that you play video games. Like I know people play video games 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day. Cut half of that time and go to the gym. Go to the gym. Go do something. Go join a jiu-jitsu class. Go join a boxing class. Go do something with yourself. Get out there. Do something besides this.
Stewing about all the ills and evils of what women are doing.
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
Yeah.
Go and out there and physically do something. Physically get some exercise. And one thing that that is really tough about what I noticed about the red pill community is that I looked at it and I said, a lot of these guys just blaming women But what are they doing to talk to women? Like, I even think once you're building your purpose, when you're building your purpose and you're making yourself better, you should always be taking your shot trying to talk to ladies. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Hey, find out what works and what doesn't work. Find out what approach works. If you're around somebody at your gym, don't be creepy about it, but just say, hey, how you doing today, ma'am? Just not that.
Small talk. Well, not while she's in the middle of the set, right?
Not in the set,
Like
but go up to her, say hi, introduce yourself. Like I go to a private gym, and so it's not a huge 24-hour or crunch or Gold's Gym or anything like that. But I walk around and I say hello to everybody in the gym. I walk around and say, hey, how's it going today? Yeah, I'm gonna get it in. Yeah, how you doing? Hello, miss. This and that. Have a little conversation with everybody. Yeah, it takes about 10-15 minutes, and then I go and I do my routine, and then I say bye and I leave. Right? But be social, and that's just gonna help your confidence. But guess what? I couldn't have did that if I was just home playing video games. I couldn't have did it if I was home playing video games. And I think that's really important.
And when you also develop on a skill, and when you're pursuing your purpose, which your passions, your purpose are very closely interconnected with each other.
I think they're symbiotic.
Very symbiotic.
Yeah.
And as you're working on that and you're getting more skills and you're building out, like, for example, we're building out this podcast and we're networking more people. I'm talking with people in, I don't know, the crypto stuff or editing or whatever. You're naturally going to be interacting with more people, and they happen to also be of different sexes too. So you're going to be able to talk to women in your own network as you're building on your purpose.
Right.
And you're building on your business with whatever you're doing. If you're going to school, there's going to be plenty of women around that's in your classes. So there's so many opportunities. But the key thing underlying all this is by becoming a better version of
yourself. And also,
that's it.
And being honest with yourself. Being honest
and
with
all
yourself.
these three did the whole day was complain about their wives. And I thought, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Like, you picked them. They're these women you picked, and maybe they have their flaws, but they're your wives. And that's how you talk about them? And you think they're the problem? You're so dumb that you don't even know that you shouldn't badmouth your wife.
And I think that this is super interesting, but it goes both ways. 'Cause I've seen this from both ways. I've been around women and they're just talking bad about their husband. And I remember...
Which is equally as wrong.
It's horrible. And men talking bad about your wives. And, my mom would always say this. My mom would be like, well, you picked them, so deal with it. And, you shouldn't air your dirty laundry. This really comes to not airing your dirty laundry, because at one point, your wife or your husband, whatever case it may be, they're going to need to be able to walk in polite society with you without being ridiculed for being with you. Because let me tell you something, with a woman complaining about her husband, only thing she's doing is advertising that she's available. And a man complaining about his wife, he's advertising that he's available. And neither of them should be available. Neither of them should be in that.
So what do you think about some of the funny jokes though? Sometimes it's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, jokes are good.
Wait, jokes are what?
Jokes are good.
Jokes are good. Okay.
But I'm not
out of bad mouthing out of vitriol and being disparaging your wife, your significant other.
You should not do it.
Especially in front of your kids.
Especially in front of your kids or family members or their friends. You shouldn't do it. I mean, even if you're having an issue, you could say, well, this is the issue and this is going on, but you can't talk bad about the person. And what I mean bad, and I think we have to distinguish. Look, if you say something's wrong and you mention an issue or a trusted friend or something like that, that's different. But if you're just destroying them and talking bad about them, then you've already started the divorce process. You've already started it. You just don't know it yet.
Because you're making tiny withdrawals, and eventually...
Exactly.
Or you're making tiny cracks, and eventually that big old crack becomes a complete break.
Shatter.
Yeah.
To bear your responsibility, you have to address that at a social level. And you do so much less harm if you look to yourself first as the problem. And believe me, you're plenty of problem for you. You're all the problem you need for you. That's for sure.
What would you say, Dr. Peterson, to the young men who are pushing back on this idea, who say, if you're a guy, making $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year, and you're doing relatively well, that the women in your cohort who are similar partners to you may not desire you. Instead of wanting a partner making 60, want a partner making 80. So what would you say to those?
Mostly I'd say that was an excuse. But I wouldn't go farther than that, because I don't know how to answer those questions in some ways at a collective level.
Everything I love is saying he focuses on the individual.
Yes.
To me, it's about personal responsibility and personal accountability to what you can change. And it's always about self-development and personal development. And this is a few times I'm sure you guys probably hear the passion coming out of my voice, because this is the content I really, truly enjoy making. Wow. And to me, like, you should not be making excuses for your lack of accountability to making yourself a better person.
Yeah, and also I think that this is like, well, I make $60,000 a year, but the ladies in my area, they want a man who makes $80,000 a year or $90,000 a year. Okay, well, then how are you going to solve this problem?
There's many ways to solve this problem.
Because one way that you can solve a problem is that, well, maybe you're shooting too high. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're shooting too high. Maybe you need to. So what's wrong with the lady? What's wrong, sir, if you make $40,000 or $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year? What's wrong with instead of looking for a lady who makes $40,000 a year because she wants someone who doubles up? Well, who do you double up on? If you make $60,000, go talk to the lady who makes $30,000 a year. She'll look at you as the prize because you're doubling up. You're satisfying her hypergamy. Because what they were talking about is hypergamy. They're saying like, hey, I make this much. If I can get this much by myself, this person needs to have twice as much. Okay, we'll go satisfy that. Quite honestly, in a lot of situations, I mean, it's really kind of natural where I see women who make $40,000 a year and their husband makes $85,000 a year. And that's kind of normal. I see, and I see women who make $30,000 a year and their husband makes $60,000 and so on and so forth. It's kind of natural. And so, maybe you're shooting too high with that. And I mean, I don't know the answer because it's like the doc said, it's an individual issue. But I will say that I find it very interesting that I've never had this said problem. And I live in a super hyper competitive place. And I don't think that, I mean, your boy is good looking, but I don't think I'm like, Chatworth Chattington III or anything. I just think I'm a normal guy.
Or Jamal.
Or Jamil Black.
I have to be, we got to figure a name that's not Chad, but something embracing both my Asian and white ethnicities.
Brandon Lee.
Work.
Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee.
That probably would work.
Pretty good.
Crow.
Brandon Lee, yeah. He was half and half.
Yeah, he was half and half.
Yeah.
He was kicking ass.
So like, I never had that issue, and I went and I would meet people all the time, and I would be able to attain dates with folks, and there was a lot of frustration because I couldn't sometimes I couldn't close the deal, and but then there was like a lot of success sometimes. So I mean, I think that
the key part is, if you can't close the deal, then move on to the next deal.
Yeah,
just move on.
Stop
dwelling on
it.
it.
But I think you have to get down to the lowest level of detail about yourself. The lowest level of detail about yourself. And once you do that, I think that'll be a lot better.
Yeah, and then also, like, there's so many ways to solve that problem. But the thing is, if you're saying, the way he presented the issue, the question, Hafiz, the thing is, then if it's this woman that's making $60K and she wants someone that's making $120K, well, then you got to think about the other variables where maybe you shouldn't go after this $60K woman. Well, what field is she in? What culture is she from?
Yeah.
What kind of man she values? What if this woman that's making $60K, but she doesn't mind meeting a guy that's a musician that's making $20K?
Yeah, because that's what she values.
Yeah, that's what she values. So there's so many different answers to this question, and I think sometimes guys, since we're so built on focusing on one particular target and going after that one target, we see a problem and thinking that's only one way to solve it.
And there's plenty of ladies in the Midwestern cities and in the southern cities, in like the Houston areas, and that who would be more than happy to have a man who makes $60K a year. So I would just say that, like, a lot of times this noise that we hear comes from coastal cities and stuff like that, where people are like more jet set class and things of that nature.
And with that too, remember there's remote work and you pay less taxes in some of those states. So that's something to think about.
And also, like, I know a lot of men like just going even further with marriage, and they go into marriage without a prenup, and then they get eviscerated because
I like that word.
They get eviscerated because and I'm thinking about like a guy's worth $750,000, and all of a sudden he's like, well, after the wedding, because it's not just 50%.
Those weddings are super.
I'm sorry,
like the Indian weddings I heard are super expensive.
I'm talking about a divorce. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. Right. But after the divorce, it's not just 50%. It's your 50% plus 30% to her lawyer plus what you pay your lawyer. So you could wind up through a bad divorce maybe coming out or having $750,000 and winding up with $150,000 or $200,000 at the end, and you could really wind up being losing that net worth, right? And the question is, well, what did you do before the fact? What was your forethought? What's your personal accountability to it? You're mad at her; she's ruined your life, but you could have went into it with a prenuptial agreement. If she didn't want to sign a prenup, then you shouldn't have had a wedding. It's that easy. Do the prenup right, follow the lead attorney's advice. It's like, hey, not only did I give her the prenup 6 months before the wedding, but her attorney looked over it and my attorney looked over it and we signed it before the wedding. And so it was on the record 6 months. Or after you get married and you're about to build up, you can do a post-nuptial. And this is just going further with personal responsibility, which is an agreement post-nuptials, which can do the same thing as a prenup. Look for the responsibility. I hear a lot of blue pill tears that turns into the red pill rage when they realize that, I lost everything. But it's like, well, hold on a second. Let's be responsible. The information's out there now.
A lot of the information.
The information's here. We know it. So be responsible before you go into it. And that's all I have to say about that. Take personal accountability for your situation in dating, because it's most likely your fault if you can't find the person that you want. Thank you very much for rocking with us. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bells for the notifications.
Leave the comments down below.
Leave the comments down below. And the question of the day is, do you agree with Jordan Peterson's version of it's your fault if you can't find your mate? Yeah.
And make sure to follow us on our social media networks. Yeah, our social media accounts at the Tip Network. One word. How do I always mess this part?
I don't know. It's just the Tip Network.
Yeah,
just
Tip
one
Network.
word. And you can follow me on Instagram at IamGorilla1, and you can follow this guy at ScottT.
Yep. 3 E's.
3 E's. So ask yourself one burning question: can you handle the tip?
Because we going all in.
Boom.
In your face.
In your face. We found true happiness.